Party government.
Catherine Delahunty.
Tēnā koe, Mr Speaker. Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. It's certainly been a long day, but it's nothing like as hard as what it is to take care of a family member with complete absence of mobility, and nothing like as hard to be that person trying to live a good, independent and self-determining life without money coming into your family that actually reflects what you're needing. That is much, much harder than listening to this debate. So I just want to comment briefly on the Minister's speech, because it was very interesting, and one of his core points was that the state or the government should not interfere in family life. And it was a definition of neglect. I wouldn't call it benign neglect, I'd call it discriminatory neglect. And unfortunately this bill, under the guise of improving things, because of the caps that it's set, because of its refusal to allow people to complain to human rights, is actually perpetuating a form of benign neglect. I hope that the families who are able to get that 14,000, the 1,600 families will benefit from that 14,000 a year. It certainly isn't a living wage, but at least they might get some money. It's certainly not going to meet their needs though, and it will be worrying if they then lose some other forms of support because they've been given this money. And that's why this is a crazy mosaic. If you're involved with trying to patch together the funding to support a family which has members, sometimes more than one. In the Robinson family there are two, and I know other families where there are at least two family members, because some of the disabilities come from inherited genetic conditions. The financial burden is phenomenal. There is a research document by Auckland University that talks about the costs that people with family members with disabilities actually pay. It talks also about the contribution that, if supported, they actually make to our economy. But what the costs are, they pay so much more for everything. And I think the rest of us, we are immune to that. We are immune in our privilege of being able to walk, talk and access resources without the discriminations that we are currently actually increasing. So let's go back to those people, because for me it's not about which party did what. Nobody did anything good enough, none of us. I don't think there's any point in pretending. I do think it's the responsibility of Parliament to take on complex issues. I don't think it should have taken us all these years. Whenever I talk to people like Cliff, what I hear in their voice is the bewilderment of being ignored, and they want to know why we took so long, and I can't answer that question. They don't understand why there have been so many barriers put in their way, and why they had to go to court, why they had to go to another court and another court and another court, because the government kept appealing the decisions which were clearly discriminatory. They are bewildered that the package is so messy and unfinished that we still can't answer the question about who's going to get what, and yet time after time after time it was obvious that the Ministry of Health was going to lose in court. It was blatantly obvious. There were no arguments. If you read the judgments, the judges said at the High Court and the Court of Appeal, these are not arguments that you're putting up. These are reinforcing discrimination. So it's not like there's been no time to prepare a package, no time to work through this issue with the sector. There just has not been the courage and political will. And we won't pay the price, but the people out there who will not be part of the 1,600, it could have been 5,000, they will pay the price. And so it's for them that I'm standing here saying we could have done better in the past, we should be doing better now. So let's have another look at some aspects of the process and the bill. The government is not doing this as an attempt to enter into international leadership on disability rights and carers' rights issues. That is disingenuous and extreme. The government is doing this because they ran out of time, because the court ruled that they had to do something. And if you look at the very first page of the bill, it says very, very clearly that they had to do something, otherwise they would be, in the absence of legislation, the government's policy would be unlawful and the government would face a very large number of claims. The only feasible way of managing risk is through legislation. I'm not sure that that's a heroic stance for human rights that would be regarded by the international community as a recognition on the UN Convention on the Rights of People with Discrimination. I'm not sure that we are going to be heralded as a country where the rights of people with disabilities and their nominated carer is being upheld in a magnificent way, in a way in which we can be proud to show the world. Kicking and screaming, the governments of the day have fought this issue until there was no more places to go. And so in order to shut down debate, they have capped it, they put it through a budget legislation to get it through the House under urgency without a select committee process, so they did not have to hear unpalatable truths, and then it will become impossible to complain. I'm not sure that that looks like a great international success in terms of human rights. And the international community on disability rights, which is a strong community, is not really naive enough to imagine that because we're allowing carers to be paid, some of them, but there's a definition in this law that they can be paid less than other people who are not family members. I'm not sure that looks like human rights. And I'm not sure those people who fought so very, very hard for disability rights to be centre stage in this nation are clapping us tonight. In fact, I know they're not. So let's have a look at the process that resulted in this, this bill. The Technical Advisory Group was a very short-term group, and it was actually quite a limited number of people who were involved, and most of them were from the Ministry of Health. And I wrote to Minister Ryle in June 2012 and asked him to consider with urgency the need for genuine experts on that group who understood the family care issues and have a creative and innovative approach to developing a fair framework for payment. I asked him to appoint a representative of the Human Rights Commission because they have demonstrated a strong understanding of the rights issues. And I also asked him to offer a place to families who had been through this process because I was trying to applaud him for recognising that nothing about us without us is the disability catch cry. So people with disabilities and their families should have been at the table. I said to the Minister that there are vested interests who want to determine the policy framework, and the voice of the disabled and the carer parents must be here if practical solutions are to be negotiated. It would not be useful, Mr. Speaker, if the panel is dominated by Ministry of Health officials, given their failure to find creative and cost-effective solutions that did not discriminate against families. And the answer I got was 4 lines: thank you for your letter. Members of the claimant group are not on the group because they're still involved in a legal process which involves a remedy hearing. The remedy hearing will deal with the claimant's issues. Now, that was 3rd of July 2012. The remedy hearing is yet to take place. So not only are the narrow issues in terms of just one set of families not yet being addressed, and they were not allowed to be part of the solution, but in fact everybody else is equally confused about where they're at as well. I just want to step back and acknowledge a particular group, the organisations known as the Disabled People's Organisations, the truly nothing about us people. They came to see me and talked about some of the complexities. Some of them were very concerned and very genuine about the power of people to choose who their carer was. And I think that they had very good points to make, and I said to them, rather than stopping this through the legal system, let's have forums and debates where we, the disabled people and their carers, actually debate this issue and create a framework with the political parties. So if you're talking about solutions, what the Green Party wanted to see, and we still want to see, is a cross-party approach to this. Because actually having a war about who did nothing is not attractive to the people of New Zealand. They don't care that we haven't done anything properly on this issue. What they care about is what are we doing now, and what they want us to do is to work constructively together to find a solution that's not just determined by the cheapest possible solution. By all means, the disabled persons organisations and carers groups have told me, by all means, have some restrictions. We need to negotiate fair restrictions. But you can't do that in isolation in a dark room, and you can't do it in a regulatory impact statement, a RIS, which is actually risible. It's completely risible. It's the example of a risible RIS is what we saw today, and that is not what the people expected of us, nor what they wanted. So there were solutions, there still are. We need to negotiate and set agreed boundaries, but like any issue of discrimination, it should be with the most affected. Those are the people who know best what their needs are. And so, unfortunately, justice delayed, Mr. Speaker, remains justice denied. And I really do believe that the shocking discrimination in this bill is not just the cap on the money and the refusal to pay minimum wage, but the real disgrace is the attack on people's right to complain. Why are we having a Human Rights Commission if their status is going to be undermined in this way? They stood there alongside the families every step of the way. That was their job. Their job is to be there when people are marginalised systematically and cannot get any form of help. And it's no good being romantic about what the health system delivers and how contract caring works, because it doesn't. So what we need to do, Mr Speaker, is to give them justice, and now justice has been denied. I really believe that Parliament has failed these people and could do much better. Kia ora to the families. Kia kaha.
Mr Speaker.
Scott Simpson.
Mr Speaker, it's a pleasure to rise and